From a swimsuit model to the Trump megaphone, the genesis of Jexodus. Washington U.S. 23, Elizabeth Pipko has branded herself on social media as a one-time figure skater, a part-time poet and a former Trump campaign aide, an Instagramista whose spotlights her Mar-a-Lago wedding and racy swimsuit and lingerie. But when President Trump latched onto Ms. Pipko's concept of a fledgling, and some would say crass, effort by Republicans to woo Jews away from the Democratic Party, even Democratic leaders found themselves defensively responding to a young woman they did not know existed a month ago. The rise of Ms. Pipko and the notion of a Jexodus. There is no evidence that any such thing is occurring. Is an object lesson in how an idea can migrate from a no-name messenger to the broad body politic, through the organ of Fox News and the megaphone of the president's Twitter account. We left Egypt, and now we're leaving the Democratic Party, Ms. Pipko declared last week on Fox and Friends, the president's favorite television program, prompting a flurry of tweets about Jexodus from Mr. Trump, and an angry retort from Representative Steny H. Hoyer of Maryland, the House Democratic leader. The Jexodus movement encourages Jewish people to leave the Democrat Party. Total disrespect. About that exodus, some 79% of Jews voted for Democrats in last year's midterm elections, according to exit polling data, up from the 71% who voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. And Jews take a dip. And about that name, Jexodus. Obviously, the Exodus is the most important master class in redemption in human history, and it is the ground for why we care about all those who are oppressed by slavery, said Rabbi Jonah Pessner, the director of the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism. To crush that the Palestinian-American writer Youssef Munawayr took a lighter view. Jexodus may have gotten the hint on the name on Thursday, but on the mission, Ms. Pipko said she was undeterred. We're obviously in a strategy memo shared with the New York Times. She wrote that she intended to use extensive micro-targeting to find persuadable Jews in 8 states: Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Michigan, and Minnesota, where Jews make up more than 2% of the vote in a total of 31 House districts. The effort comes at a fraught moment for Israel supporters in the Democratic Party. 2 freshmen a New York native and granddaughter of Mark Klyansky, a Russian-born Jewish painter, Ms. Pipko, who was described on the Jexodus website as an international model, Trump 2016 campaign staffer, poet, patriot, and fiercely proud millennial Jew, is not new to media attention. While Ms. Pipko is the public face of Jexodus, the idea originated with Jeff Balaban, an advisor to the 2016 Trump campaign and self-described, very traditionally observant Jew who said he was deeply disturbed by the rising tide of anti-Israel sentiment on the progressive left. In an email, he said he came up with Jexodus as a rallying cry to help make it okay for Jews to be proudly independent or Republican or even active Trump supporters. And he announced the new group at the Conservative Political Action Conference in Washington this month, along with Sebastian Gorka, a former Trump White House official who has been in his native Hungary. CPAC attendees check out the awesome swag and tweet pics wearing it. Mr. Balaban, Mr. Gorka declined to be interviewed. I will not assist. Jexodus, now the Exodus movement, is making its debut just days before 18,000 people, including Vice President Mike Pence, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, and top congressional leaders, are together in Washington for the annual policy conference of the pro-Israel lobbying behemoth. Mr. Trump is clearly trying to exploit the moment. There is anti-Semitism that raised the hackles not only of Democrats, but of the foreign policy establishment. The deployment of Jexodus is vintage Trump, said Aaron David Miller, Middle East Program Director at the Wilson Center, a foreign affairs research organization, a cynical, Twitter-friendly conceit designed to undermine bipartisanship, critically important to a healthy U.S.-Israeli relationship, by trying to establish the Republican Party as the go-to party on Israel and in the process tar the Democrats with labels that run from anti-Israel to anti-Jewish. On Friday, Mr. Hoyer, the House Democratic leader, shot back. Exploiting antis, Ms. Pipko insists she simply wants to educate people. She has kind of, I can't blame them, she said. There's a lot that
raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park.